allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Kevin. She's been a delight this year to work with the school board, and we wish her a lot of success as she moves on to the next leg of her journey. We are excited to see all of the students and honorees with us today. I would also like to take a brief moment to acknowledge some of the dignitaries we have present with us today. I do want to make an apology for those of you who know what time the board meeting got out last night. We were working late, but the Senate and the Assembly in the state of New York were working even later, and they're still in session even though they were supposed to end yesterday. So on behalf of our Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther and our Senator Mike Martucci, they send their regards. They have certificates for all of you that they were bringing with them. We will mail them to you. We apologize in advance. They really thought that they were going to be out last night and be here with us today, and they're not. So we do thank them for their continued support of this event. And we did have originally Congressman Delgado on our calendar for this event, but he's busy playing Lieutenant Governor today, so he wasn't able to get it back out on us as well. But he, again, also sends his regards, and we're going to see what he can do maybe for a governor's certificate for you. He's working on that. With that said, I'd also like to introduce at this time our Superintendent of Schools. It is my honor to recognize that he's here with us this afternoon, Dr. Matthew Evans. In addition, I want to say thank you so much to our Hall of Distinction committee members that are here today. So we do have from the class of 1996, Erin Morse. And also from the class of 1996, Crystal Tweed. And I thank them for all of the principals. From our Board of Education, we have with us Wendy Gallagher-Wiener, class of 1986. The purpose of our Hall of Distinction is twofold. Obviously, we want to honor those distinguished alumni, faculty, and administrators who have earned the right to have a plaque hanging in our hall. The second purpose is for all of the students, parents, and guests of the Monticello Central School District to receive a clear message. That message is, Monticello is a fabulous place to gain an education, and students of any and all backgrounds whatsoever can achieve whatever they set out to achieve, no matter how lofty their goal. Diversity is one of the key strengths of the Monticello Central School District. The committee is very proud of the diversity that it has shown in their selection of inductees in our first 8 years. The honorees are diverse in their careers that they have excelled at. They are diverse in their gender. They are diverse in their ethnicity. They are diverse in their socioeconomic background of their families. And they are diverse in where they have finally chosen to live. The common thread of all of them is that they have the drive and know-how to succeed in a very positive fashion in life. We can all learn something from every one of them, and they are true examples of the awesomeness of Monty pride. For their accomplishments in life and their commitment to our world, we continue to honor them, and today honor our new honorees by inducting them as the 2021 class of the Monticello Central School District Hall of Distinction. The Hall of Distinction committee members spend much time reviewing applications, discussing qualifications, and choosing those to be honored. The ability to put together a ceremony such as this, however, takes a great amount of time and commitment, and a team that works beyond the scope of those just on the committee. On behalf of the committee, I would like to take an opportunity to give a special thank you to those who helped to make today happen. First of all, the Monticello Central School District Board of Education, our superintendent, Dr. Matthew Evans, the high school principal, Mr. Stephen Wilder, the high school assistant principal, Ms. Robin Boardman, the 2-hour delay band that I introduced to you a little earlier, Mike Minko and Andrew Berdino, along with the stage crew members to set up the stage, the Monticello Central School District Tech Department, and this is being live streamed, which is the first time we've done that. But there are people watching, we know that, and it will also be a link that we will be uploading onto our website, so that people who are not able to see this because they're at work or whatever, they are able to see that as well. So we thank the Tech Department under Ms. Kimberly Gordon. Mr. Stephen Lewis and the Monticello Central School District's Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Doug Murphy and the Monticello Central School District security staff, and a very special shout out. We've normally in the past had somebody who was a part-time public relations person in our district to help us with this event. Things changed during COVID, and our person is actually stationed now in Albany, and she's never set foot in this school, and she's never seen anything. So her local contact has been our director from the district's communication, and Courtney has just been amazing. So please give a shout out to Courtney Bonfonte, who's done a great job. I would also like to give special thanks. Some of our honorees this morning went into classrooms with our high school students and actually presented and did one-on-one sessions with our classes. So I'd like to thank those who worked with our students prior to the ceremony. So thank you. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. The induction of the Monticello Hall of Distinction, Class of 2021 inductees. A reminder to all that this class would have normally been inducted in the fall of 2021, but what we chose to do was to announce the honorees at that time and shifted our ceremony to this spring due to COVID so that you could all be with us. Each honoree will be introduced by the person who nominated them or by someone who the honoree has requested to introduce them. We will then have the distinct honor to hear from each honoree. Each of the honorees will be presented with a Monticello Central School District Hall of Distinction swag bag, so you don't have to go to the Oscars, we have them too. Included in the bag is a very special miniature plaque with a replica of the wall plaque that we will unveil, along with the gifts from throughout the school district. There's little trinkets and stuff, so from all of our schools, all of their bling and their things. So, and the special thing is you get a school district ID ticket. It doesn't get you in anywhere, but it's nice to have. You can talk to Doug Murphy, maybe he can get you some access, we'll see. At the conclusion of our ceremony today, we would like to invite all of the honorees and their family and friends to join us for the unveiling of the plaques in the rear of the auditorium lobby. Those joining us on the live stream will be able to join us for the unveiling as well. Please remain on the link and we will rejoin once we have assembled in that hallway. We hope that you and the students and the community members will take a moment to view the plaques as you attend events or walk through the halls of Monty High. And we know that you will discover for yourself the full potential through the messages delivered through these outstanding individuals. Two little boys entered my life about 40 years ago. I watched them grow into outstanding fine men. They're as close as two brothers can be. I still remember the day when my husband and I went to New York City with Todd and Chris, along with Linda and Tony, their parents, for a professional photo shoot. Tony called and said, just put on clothes and let's go. Okay, we're gonna drive down, we're gonna have some dinner together, it'll be great. That's what people do when they're friends. And we didn't know what it was until we got there. And then we were told that my husband and I were going to be playing the parts of a working family to make ends meet. But we were a family struggling to pay our heating bill. The photo shoot was for the New York Times, and it was a donation campaign for the Salvation Army. From a young age, both learned about the importance of family, friends, and community service. We got to take it off the wall in the house. There's the picture. There's Chris. There's Todd. My husband Bill. And myself from the photo shoot. I told Todd I was going to embarrass him. Chris didn't know it was coming. Neither did Mr. Cellini's students. You can see it close up if you want. He still looks the same. So with that said, it gives me great honor today to introduce Mr. Christopher Cellini, who will introduce our first inductee, Dr. Todd Cellini.
Good afternoon to the members of the Hall of Distinction Committee and the Monticello family. Most of you probably know who I am, and to the seniors, you've spent a good part of the last 2 years listening to me talk, so I'll keep it short. This is my big brother, Todd Cellini. Laura made me cry, sorry. The family is tremendously proud of Todd, and honored to be here today. We're not only proud of what he's accomplished, but how he has accomplished it. He was a graduate of the class of 1997. I'm 2000, by the way, I'm younger, just want to point that out. But he'd be the first to tell you that he wasn't an A student when he was here, but he worked hard. And he took the skills and work ethic that he learned here to get to the next phase of his life. And that is where Todd found his passion. He earned a doctoral degree and was among the youngest people in the country to reach the top of his profession. So, for those of you seniors who may be sitting here today, unsure of what your next step is, that's okay. Education is powerful. Stick with it, believe in it, and I'm confident that you will find something that you're passionate and excel in that area the way Todd has done. I don't want to steal too much of his thunder, so I'll let him tell his story. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce my brother and my best friend, Todd Cellini.
I don't know how to follow up the picture from when I was 7, so I'll start with the speech and I'll ad-lib when I get to the picture. Maybe we'll hold that up in a few moments. Good afternoon. I'm going to start by thanking Monticello Central School District, Gloria Aristano James, and the Hall of Distinction Committee for selecting me and the other honorees today. We are all part of a rich history of Monticello High School graduates that have been successful and hopefully can provide small motivation for the future graduates. For those of you that don't know me that well, as my brother just disclosed and violated FERPA, I was not the best student. Let's call it a B- student while I was here. You know, I grew up with a hearing loss, wearing hearing aids, which was no treat for those years in middle school and high school, and spent numerous hours, during lunch, during recess, learning to read lips so that I could hear what I could see what I couldn't hear. I considered it a challenge, but not something that would define me. That being said, many people saw hearing aids and made assumptions about my ability or my intelligence that ultimately motivated me in my career and my path. My life would not be on its current path were it not for Monticello High School. 25 years ago, this month, I was about to graduate. When I reflect back on my state of mind as a high school senior, I probably would have skipped today, so I would not have been here. I remember having a plan. It included studying environmental studies and playing baseball as a walk-on at Binghamton University, and eventually becoming a marine biologist. Remember what they just said. I live in Denver, Colorado, which is landlocked, so the last part of the marine biology thing did not happen. It turned out the path that I intended didn't quite work out as planned. So those of you sitting in the audience as students should know that you don't have to plan everything. Everything won't go as planned, and it's okay to not know what's next. So let me tell you a little bit more about my journey. I grew up in Sackett Lake and lived there until I was 18. My family still resides in Sackett Lake and Rock Hill. My father Anthony worked with the Salvation Army, as Larry indicated, and then was a councilman and later the supervisor in the town of Thompson. My mother Linda worked for 30 plus years at the United Way of Sullivan County and then the local chapter of the YMCA until she retired. At an early age, my brother Chris and I understood the value of being community-minded. Some of my childhood memories include working at the local food bank, delivering turkeys on Thanksgiving Eve, wrapping presents through the holiday season, and counting numerous amounts of change from those Salvation Army kettles. My mother and father both worked with what I feel like was most of the class of 1997 to make sure that they got their participation in government, volunteer hours, and political meetings completed, which ironically my younger brother Chris teaches now. Due next Friday for those of you in the big class. Speaking of participation in government, as a young person, I got petitions signed with my parents, knocked on doors with dad, went to countless breakfasts, luncheons, dinners, fundraising events to support each campaign that our family was a part of. I met so many of the people in this community. I got to hear the stories from the people that loved our ideas. I also got to hear from the many community members who didn't agree with what was going on. Through it all, I learned the art of compromise and admitting when ideas were mistakes. That is probably something we could all use a little more of these days. My brother Chris has dedicated his life to the hallways of Monticello High School, doing what he loves, teaching social studies. He's bought a house, got married, and is raising his daughter Emmy in Sullivan County with his wife Christina. I've always been inspired by their dedication to this community. Community engagement is something that I urge everyone in the auditorium to be involved in. Since graduation, I've lived in New York, Binghamton, Oswego, Woodbridge, South Carolina, Georgia, and now Colorado. I've strived to be involved in each community. I've volunteered at animal shelters, nursing homes, Alzheimer's Walk, and helped fundraising for youth shelters, environmental education centers, and countless other organizations. But my largest effort to be involved in the community was in Savannah, Georgia, where I had the honor to chair an annual fundraising campaign for the United Way of the Coastal Empire. Did that in honor of my mom. During the year of 2017, we raised $8.2 million, and that had huge impact on the 60-plus nonprofits. Just breathtaking. If there's one thing that you can take away from my time in Monticello, being engaged in the community matters. I also feel gratitude for the family I've created with my amazing wife, Kristen, my son, Doran, who's sitting with his grandparents today, and my daughter, Lydia, who I couldn't get on a plane at 5. This is back home with my wife. You know, we spend our money at the Denver Zoo, we go to the Butterfly Pavilion, we donate clothes, we volunteer, and, you know, helping people that are in need. And that's what we want to teach our children, just like we were taught as young folks. We want each member of our family to be inspired to be the best versions of themselves. For my family, both inherited and created, I'm always and will always be eternally grateful. All right, so let's get back to the plan that didn't go as I thought it would. There are 2 quick stories that I would like to share with you. As I told you, my plan was to play baseball in college. I played baseball from age 5 on. I loved the game, loved watching, playing, and talking baseball. 2 of my coaches were on the stage today. Judge Meadow and Judge King both put up with me on a baseball field. As I grew up in Monticello, I wanted to play every chance I could get, which included playing organized baseball through the school system so that I could play year-round. That meant years of modified, junior varsity, and varsity. Trouble was, the first year I tried out, I got cut. How could this be? I wanted to play baseball, I was smart, had a little bit of talent, and knew everyone that was trying out, but my name was not on the coach's door. Back then they put it on the coach's door. That was not a violation. Today it's a violation. You know, so what's next? Do you wallow in sorrow, or do you put in some hard work? I chose to put in hard work, and that's the theme you're going to hear. I contacted a mentor and a local coach that I've been worked with in other leagues named Tim Hallis. Not only was Tim a great coach, he's a better person. He worked with me weekly for the entire next year to make sure that there was no chance I didn't make the cut. Without Tim, I would have been done with baseball. The next year and the years after, 2 coaches at Monticello not only believed in me, but gave me the opportunity to increase my confidence, learn the craft, and play baseball every season until I graduated. The coach that coached Doug Murphy, who's sitting in the back, the trust that him and Coach Spear had in me helped this shy kid who was non-confident with hearing aids from Sackett Lake find a voice in team settings. I was never the best player on the field, but I was one of the hardest working. I can honestly say that translated to almost every professional role I've had in my career. Might not be the best, but was never outworked. And I dedicate that to Coach Hallis, Coach Murphy, and Coach Spear. My second story starts with rejection again. I had my heart on Binghamton University for college. I visited a Monticello graduate named Matt Hirsch during my junior and senior years and knew that's where I wanted to graduate. My parents gave me the speech that you can go to any BU you want to, as long as it said SUNY in front. So I got Brockport, I got Buffalo, I got Binghamton. Boston University was out. They didn't want it for price, they didn't want it for location, which I was okay with now looking back. As expected, I applied to Binghamton and expected to get in. I was spending time with my senior year at Sullivan County Community College doing the early MIT program. Well, as many high school students did in 1997 before email, I went to the mailbox each day, expecting to get that acceptance package, the usual one that had the large envelope with all the stuff you had to fill out to accept your spot. Instead of that package, I got a small envelope with rejection. How could this be? I was a decent student, E-minus. I was, active in the community, played sports, was set on Binghamton, and going to college as a senior. The next day, I went to see the Dean of Students at Sullivan, Richie Sush, and my guidance counselor, many of yours, Cheryl Manns. While my merits didn't get me into the freshman, both Miss Manns and Dean Sush agreed that I might have a shot as a transfer student because of the work I'd done at Sullivan. I got the acceptance letter a few days after the rejection letter. I keep both of them in my filing cabinet in my house to this day. I ended up with 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree from a school that I had a rejection letter. And as I stated before, persistence and hard work matter. Special thanks to quick thinking, my guidance counselor, Miss Mann, and the Dean of Students, Richie Sush. As for my plan, getting an environmental studies degree ended up being right, but I tacked on a geography degree as well. And while I was in college, I continued to be engaged. I used that as my community. I was an orientation assistant, a resident assistant, a teaching assistant in college, which ultimately would lead to my passion in higher education. I loved advising students, teaching, watching students improve. This led to obtaining my master's degree in 1 year at Binghamton and being a graduate assistant, which helped pay for it. After graduating from Binghamton, I still had to find myself in higher education. I worked in residence life at both SUNY Oswego and the University of South Carolina. One let me see my grandfather weekly, and the other one connected me some close friends, including Adriana Mason Greco, who serves on your current school board. I came home and worked at Sullivan County Community College, advising students just like me to help them get to the 4-year colleges of their dreams. After that, I headed back south and moved to Savannah, Georgia to be the Dean of Students, eventually becoming a university president at age 29. Completing my doctorate, married Kristen, and started my family. After accomplishing my career goal of becoming a college president early in my career, what was next? It was time to take the leap of faith without a true plan. Our family decided to move west to Colorado, and for a kid from Monticello, New York, going west was scary. Funny thing is that we got settled in New York, and 2 of the guys I played baseball with in Monticello, G.R. Fielding and Mike Izzo, lived about 15 minutes away, and we see each other at Coors Field all the time. The leap of faith paid off. I ended up as a job as a chief academic officer at Spartan College, and we run Spartan College in Oklahoma, California, and Colorado. We also bought a couple of flight schools, we run McGarry Aviation, and we train pilots and mechanics to help you fly where you want to go. I love watching these dedicated students. All of this sitting here, 25 years ago in the same seats, what was the secret to success? I continue to be hungry. I always had a sense of being hardworking. I continue to be humble. I've always been challenged to grow. I understand how to celebrate success, but also learn from my mistakes, of which I've made many. I continue to learn that people smarts really matter. Your ability to listen, observe, question, and create lasting relationships that are mutually beneficial go a long way in life. And I've continued to maintain positivity. In a world full of outside noise and negativity, I strive to make a positive difference in everything that I'm working on. The things that got me from the seat in this auditorium to standing on this stage: hard work, humility, people smarts, positivity, and a number of good mentors along the way. I would like to thank all the wonderful mentors, teachers, and community members that had a positive influence on my life. I'll close you with my favorite quote, and it's from Jackie Robinson. A life is not important except in the impact it has in other lives. Thank you for listening to my discussion.
Thank you, Todd. If you would come on up here next to me. And Dr. Evans, we're going to go take a picture in a second as well. Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly inducts Todd Salini, EDD, Alumnus class of 1997 into the Hall of Distinction, June 3rd, 2022. Character is the builder of the nation. We have to stand in a certain spot for lighting, so you Thank you, Todd. We're so proud of you. I was so excited as the Hall of Distinction chairperson to go to Middletown Medical to inform the next inductee that she was nominated and chosen for this honor. What I found to be very humorous, and those of you who know her father will totally understand this, is that when I told her, she smiled, she teared up, and then she said, "My father didn't nominate me, did he?" The delight to know that it was a colleague of hers made me really chuckle. So here to introduce our second inductee is her friend and colleague, Ellen Daniels, and I'm standing here for moral support because she's petrified to do what she's about to do.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ellen Daniels, class of 1982, and I am the nominator for Cindy McAdam Gilmer. Cindy has earned degrees, certifications, and held important positions all while being a mother, a wife and mother. When Cindy was a school nurse teacher at Wood Elementary School, Harold Dyer was the principal. In his letter of recommendation for Cindy, he said, "Cindy always had a positive attitude and unsolicited willingness to work until the task was completed. Her career and community contribution presents as a role model for the students of Monticello." This was written in a letter by Dr. Sheldon Leitner, who worked with Cindy in various capacities for over 25 years. This is also agreed with by Joyce Salamino Giffen, member of the Board of Trustees for what was then Community General Hospital. Cindy ran the clinic there for 10 years. Joyce stated in her letter, "Cindy is a Monticello girl who came back to her hometown as a medical practitioner and gives back to her community on a daily basis." Thank you, Hall of Distinction Committee. You saw what I saw, a person who unselfishly gives back. I'm extremely proud to have nominated Cindy, and I'm delighted to be here today as she received this award. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I would like to say thank you to all the members of Hall of Distinction and Warrior Style James for making this day happen. I would like to congratulate my fellow inductees for all of their contributions. I would like to thank Ellen Daniels for the nomination and Hall of Distinction. If it were not for Ellen, I would not be here before you today. I was very overwhelmed by this nomination. Honestly, when Lori came to my office, I thought, okay, Dunkin' Donuts card, a little certificate, and away I'll go. I had no idea the magnitude of this nomination. I would like to say, I'm so pleased with the letters of nomination sent in by Dr. Sheldon Leitner, Mr. Harold Diamond, Joyce Salamino Giffen, Mr. and Mrs. Stephen White, and I would also like to take time to thank my husband Dean and my son Tyler for their overwhelming patience and love during my journey. At this time, it is also important to recognize my parents, Joyce and Gordon McAdam, because without them, I wouldn't be standing here today. With that said, the last time I stood on this stage was in 1979 for the Thanksgiving food drive. Okay, a couple years have elapsed, a few more wrinkles, what can I say? So I began my education here in 1967 at the Cook School and graduated in 1980. I told my parents and siblings at that particular point in time, no way am I coming back to Monticello to live. Well, here I am. My other three siblings have moved far between, but I'm still here and grateful to be so. To this day, I'm sorry, I always wanted to be a nurse. That was always my career dream. So in 1980, I went on to the college in New Rochelle to pursue my nursing degree. I have to say, the only reason I went there, beautiful dogwood trees. It had nothing to do with academics. The other issue was it was an all-female Catholic school. My parents were aghast. Are you kidding me, Cindy? Okay. So I had a great time there. In 1984, I graduated and embarked on my first job as a nurse. I went to work at Catskill Regional Medical Center as a pediatric nurse, and during the winter went to Florida where I worked at Northwest Regional Medical Center as a pediatric nurse. I bounced up and down the East Coast until Dean and I decided to settle down and start a family. In 1988, Dean and I welcomed our son, Tyler Gilmore. The following year, I took a job as a school nurse teacher at the Cook and Chase School. Not only was I the school nurse teacher, but I was responsible for the health curriculum for the students in K through 5. I had to get a master's degree at that time to remain as a teacher. I went on to get my master's in healthcare administration at the New School for Social Research. After that, I went on to leave the school district and become nurse manager of the pediatric unit at Arden Hill Hospital in 1992. I then decided that I wanted to become a nurse practitioner. My parents were like, are you ever going to stop going to school? We couldn't push you in high school, and here you are going back. I enrolled in Binghamton University and graduated in 1996. After graduation, I went to work in Orange County for Florida Family Practice. In 1998, I was approached by the director of nursing at Catskill Regional Medical Center to take a position as a nurse practitioner and manager at the Family Health Center. This was an outpatient clinic that served the uninsured population of Sullivan County. I actually had the honor of caring for 3 generations of families. Patients were just grateful to have health care delivered with kindness and compassion. In 2006, I took a position with Sullivan Internal Medicine, which later merged with Middletown Medical. It is there that I continue to enjoy caring for members of this community as both a primary care practitioner and urgent care provider. The writing of this speech has given me a chance to reflect upon my nursing career. I often get up in the morning and think, why did I choose to become a nurse in the beginning? Honestly, it's not a glamorous career. I have to look at things, smell things, see things that really aren't pleasant to the senses on any given day. Despite this, at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, did I make a difference in someone's life today? I feel that's really the essence of healthcare. I think that if you believe in yourself and you are passionate about what you do, the sky is the limit. Healthcare is all about thinking out of the box. With this said, I would like to share a story with you that has helped define my career. While I was working as a nurse manager in the pediatric unit at Arden Hill, I had the opportunity to care for a 15-year-old girl who had been involved in a car accident. The 15-year-old had left with her father on Halloween to purchase a winter coat. On the return trip from purchasing that coat, they were involved in a car accident that tragically took the child's father's life. So she was coming up to be admitted to my unit, and she had a fractured femur, thigh bone, and she had to be in skeletal traction, so she could not be moved for 6 weeks. I was very saddened and thought, how is this child ever going to grieve for her father? So I contacted the local funeral director, and I said, listen, this is going to sound crazy. I know you take bodies out of here all the time. I'm asking you to bring one back in. So I explained the situation to the funeral director. He said, doable. So we had the father, obviously, in the casket, returned to Arden Hill. And we set up a room so that the clergy could come in and they could have a private family ceremony. That way she could start her grieving process along with her family. Several years later, I received a phone call from this young lady that she had chosen, that she was actually a nurse. And the reason she chose to go into nursing was because of her experience with Arden Hill. I'm sorry. I would like to part by saying, no matter what your career choice, it is important to believe in yourself and always look to pay it forward. It is not what you do, but what effect you have on individuals along your journey. My patients over the years have taught me courage, strength, and the ability to move forward despite all odds, and for this, I will be forever grateful. Thank you.
So Ellen will also do a picture, so we're set with that. Monticello. Cindy and I went to school together. She's laughing at me because I got to put on my glasses. I think I would memorize these by now, but I need these to see what it really says. Oh, look, there it does say something. Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly inducts Cynthia McAdam Gilmore, alumna, class of 1980, into the Hall of Distinction, June 3rd, 2022. Character is the builder of the nation. To remember, I'm not too old to remember that. Family friendships coupled with pure Monty pride make our next presenter the perfect choice to introduce our next honoree. Please welcome to the podium Monticello High School graduate, class of 1964, and my predecessor in this position, the former Hall of Distinction chairperson, as well as an inductee to the Hall of Distinction, and more importantly, my dear friend, Mr. Les Chris.
Good afternoon. I'm Les Chris. I've been a friend of Hank Good for many, many years, and I'm proud to present him as a 2022 inductee of the Monticello Central School District Hall of Distinction. Tommy Downey, who had lived in Monticello for a long time, nominated Hank, but lives in North Carolina now and cannot be here for the induction. Hank Good has amazing qualities. He's an outstanding example for those in the audience of how to follow your dreams and one day be famous for whatever you may decide to do in life. I have seen on Google that there are about 3.5 million truck drivers just in the United States alone. In a short while, I'm going to bring to the microphone one of the most famous of those truck drivers, not only here in this country, but in all of Germany and Europe. His 1981 Kenworth K100 Aerodyne has unique claim to fame. This truck, known as Hank's Highway Hilton, has traveled nearly 1.6 million miles, participated in 2 European Goodwill Show truck tours, been featured in over 200 newspaper magazine articles, and appeared on several television shows and movies. Hank has won over 121 trophies for this truck in parades and car shows across the globe. The first truck show Hank's Highway Hilton appeared in was the Englishtown Raceway Truck Show in Drags in May of 1992. His last show was in September of 2001 at Bristol Speedway, an amazing record. Since Hank's first Highway Hilton, there have been 2 more updated versions, and he is still hauling items across country for a living and talking about his many experiences. Over the years, both he and his wonderful mom, Ursula, who I knew well also, have been the president of the Monticello Kiwanis Club. Ursula unfortunately passed on a few years ago. Henry has given back to the community as much as one could. I remember so many events where he proudly showed off his Highway Hilton truck and had a youngster after youngster sit in his cab as he showed them the dashboard and explained how he would drive it. As Hank moves towards retirement, he has decided to move to North Carolina, but is so delighted to be here today to accept his nomination. Please welcome Hank Good, Henry Good to the podium.
Good afternoon, faculty of Monticello High School and the faculty committee. This is such an honor for me to be into this induction. First, a little humor. When I was in elementary school, I was a bad daydreamer. One day, my second grade teacher told me, "Henry, you won't get anywhere looking out of a window." For the last 49 years, I've been getting paid to look out the window. The windshield of my truck. It is so important for people to aspire and have dreams. I almost forgot it. The name of my speech is "Climb Every Mountain, Follow Every Dream." It is important for people to aspire and have dreams. But dreams don't become reality by just dreaming about them. They take hard work, dedication, teamwork, and a good education. Never underestimate education. You can never learn too much. Even today, I'm learning new things. Even I underestimated the level of education I would need beyond school. It was either my freshman or sophomore year in high school. And my mother recommended I take typing class. Being that I wanted to drive truck, I responded that in my field, I would not require typing. Boy, was I wrong. Because after 3 years spent fulfilling my dream, I was a small business owner of my own trucking company. I wish I had listened to Mom and taken typing class. It just shows, Mom always knows best. P.S. I wish I had taken public speaking too. Dreams can be never ending. Set a goal for yourself, reach one goal, and set the next. That's exactly how I did it. In 1976, I bought my first truck from Kenworth, and that same year started my own small trucking company. However, what I really wanted was the new Kenworth model that first came out in the market in 1976, called the VIT 200, nowadays called an Aerodyne. So I set to achieve my next goal, and that was to own it. In 1981, that dream became reality, and I bought that Kenworth truck, equipped with bunk beds and a refrigerator. Back then, that was a big deal. As a young trucker, before owning my own truck, I really enjoyed going to truck shows as a spectator. My next goal was to participate in those of truck shows with my 81 Kenworth, named Thanks Highway Hilton. Fully draped in lights, blue with red pinstripes along the side, and an big HG in the grill. I had just that truck and competed in my first show in 1982, Englishtown. I won my first competition, and soon after that, my truck was noticed by trucking magazines, newspapers, and we were even featured on in New York City TV news. In 1985, I began putting the truck wheels into motion for my next goal. I went to Germany to visit my aunt and uncle for their 50th wedding anniversary. While there, I had brought along articles and photographs of my truck. Everyone seemed smitten with my truck, which gave me the next idea of entering German truck shows. After 7 years, in 1992, I finally got my sponsor and was invited to Germany on a goodwill tour with Thanks Highway Hilton. While overseas, my truck continued to win awards, and my tour was so successful it was extended from 4 weeks to 12 weeks. Then again, in 1993, I was invited back for a second tour of Europe due to the success of my first tour. I spent 17 weeks traveling Germany, Holland, Poland, Switzerland, Sweden, and Finland. And plans to Russia was unfortunately canceled due to political unrest. That's new. After most tours, I went back to doing what I do best, trucking throughout America for 2 more years, then bought the highway Hilton and returned to Germany to drive an American show truck for a German head agency for 18 months. Then returned to the United States and continued driving my trucking career. Now, almost 50 years after passing my road test for tractor trailers and 4 million safe driving miles under my belt, I'm still trucking and still loving it. I make a decent living, get to see magnificent states in their beautiful country, this beautiful country, while enjoying what I do. So you probably wonder what happened to my 81 show truck. It was over 1.5 million miles on it. Sorry. That truck is now in its final resting place at the Iowa 80 Trucking Museum in Walker, Iowa. Still as handsome as it was back and still inspiring future truckers. In addition to trucking, I've always felt that giving back to the community was important. I volunteered in the Monticello Fire Department while I was still in high school. Last December, I celebrated 50 years in the department. Even so, I'm no longer active due to relocation. Monticello Fire Department is always near and dear to my heart. Everyone has something to give, whether it is volunteering at the fire department, Kiwanis, Rotary, community service, animal shelter, or Boys and Girls Club. There are many ways to make a difference in your community. I want to express my deepest gratitude and honor you have bestowed upon me. I am proud to say I am a graduate of Monticello High School and wish you all the best as you venture into the world. Remember, always follow your dreams. Never let anyone tell you it's too hard or it's unattainable. When you believe in yourself, others will also believe in you. Be your own best friend, no matter how successful you become. Never forget the family, the friends, the community who helped and supported you along the way. Thank you, Mom. Thank you again. Be safe, and congratulations to the graduates of Monticello High School class of 2022. And I really like to thank the nominating committee of the induction for the wonderful honor you bestowed on me. Thank you.
So in the middle of my mantle, every year at Christmas time, I have 2 pictures. One picture is a Christmas card that Henry sent to our house the year that my husband played Santa Claus on his truck. And we used to do like a Christmas parade, if you remember, or a holiday parade. And the other one is my nephew at the age of 3 dressed as Santa Claus because he wanted to look like his uncle. And those are the 2 that honor middle of our mantle every holiday season. We think of Henry often, as well as his mother, and Muji is very proud of you today. I'm going to see if I can do this. Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly presents stop laughing. Proudly inducts Henry Hank Good, alumnus, class of 1972, into the Hall of Distinction, June 3rd, 2022. Character is the bewilder of the nation. So for those of you who don't know what character is the bewilder of the nation, all of us know the old middle school, it is on the proscenium arch of the old middle school on St. John Street. So our sixth graders now know it, because our sixth graders were back in that building for this year during construction. So they will understand character is the bewilderer of the nation. None of us understand why it was a V instead of a U, but it's the bewilderer of the nation. With that said, Monticello Central School has always been known for its outstanding music program. Nationally recognized for 13 years as the best community school for music education by the National Association of Music Merchants, we are proud and honored to have a performance today of Brahms' Ballade, Opus 118, number 3, by Monticello High School student and student of Anne Trombley of the Trombley Studio and Nesson Cultural Arts, Mr. Lenny Gleiser. Please welcome to the podium former Associate Justice of the Appellate Division of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Anthony Kane, to introduce our next distinguished inductee.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. We were all asked to make short introductions for our inductees. So I'm honored and pleased to be able to introduce my friend and colleague, the Honorable Mark Bell. In 1986, I made one of my better life decisions when I asked Mark to leave the practice of law and join me in family court. He said yes, and we formed a friendship and working relationship that has lasted till this day. I'm not going to take up your time relating all of Mark's professional achievements, which are many, since many of them are in the program. But I will emphasize a few. He established what's called CASA. That's the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program in the Sullivan County Court. This program gave the court an independent monitor to ensure that appropriate services were being provided to families that were before the court. The program was both innovative and invaluable. He was recognized by the SYDA Foundation as the outstanding citizen in Sullivan County. This award is given to only one person annually, and it recognized not only Mark's work with families and children in court, but also his and Robin's faithful service to their church and their community. Finally, Judge Meadow received the coveted Howard A. Levine Award from the New York State Bar Association for his family court work, both in and outside of the courtroom. In his non-work time, among other things, Mark and Robin raised 3 young men who, like their parents, give back to their communities. He has been an active volunteer fireman in Rock Hill for the past 45 years. He was both president of the Rock Hill Fire Company and of the Sullivan County Volunteer Firemen's Association. And he also plays a decent round of golf. Ralph Waldo Emerson once described success this way, and we've heard people talking about success, and there's a common theme in all of this with a quote that I'm going to give. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, and to endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or an improved social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you live. This is to have succeeded. With that, based upon Judge Meadows' service to the children and families of Sullivan County and his service to the community, I would like to introduce you to a very successful man.
Carry selecting me to be inducted into the 2021 Hall of Distinction. And also the anonymous nomination from the RJK Kaiser Middle School for my nomination. And I'd also like to thank my good friend and colleague, who used the same words, the Honorable Anthony Kane. I would also like to offer my congratulations to my fellow inductees today and the ones from the past years. We were asked to submit a biography for the purposes of today's ceremony, and it's included in your package there. But I noticed there were several events that I forgot to mention in that. I'm going to go over those just briefly. First, I was the first grade class at the Embassy Chase Sports Girls School. That was a couple of years ago. I also happened to be in the first 9th grade class in this high school, and that was also a couple of years ago. And I spent 4 of my years right up on the stage in the band under the tutelage of the Arnold P. Hughes, after whom this auditorium has been named. And also, when I was in 11th grade, I left a wad of gum in the back row. Somebody would check on it and make sure it's hilarious. I had what I would characterize as an average high school career in Monticello. Participated in the band, but I was unable to participate in sports. I graduated and went on to study at Orange County Community College. And I was halfway through my first semester at Ock when a light went off in my head, and I realized that I could not live with my mom and dad for the rest of my life, and I needed to figure out a plan for the future. So what I did, I decided to withdraw from 3 of the 5 classes that I enrolled in that first semester and concentrate on taking courses that I was interested in, not in classes that people thought I should take. So bent on graduating, I put a great deal of effort into studying. I doubled up on my course load to make up the classes that I withdrew from, all this time working full-time at the trading post at Rock. Well, eventually my hard work paid off, and I did extremely well, which allowed me to continue my education at SUNY Albany. I actually started to enjoy the learning process and devoted my time to working hard and spending hours in the library. I did have the benefit of having roommates who were also very studious and goal-oriented, which was extremely helpful in my success at SUNY Albany. Although I was very successful at SUNY Albany, I wasn't sure what the ultimate plan for my future was, so I enrolled in graduate school at NYU. However, right before classes were to start, I decided that a degree that I was planning to pursue at NYU was not the appropriate plan for me, so I decided to attend law school instead. So after withdrawing from NYU, I worked full-time to get at the trading post in Rock Hill. And I was able to make enough money so I could afford to go to law school. So I went through the process of taking the LSATs, which is the admission test, applied to a number of law schools, and eventually I decided to attend Villanova University School of Law. And once again, while in law school, I did a great deal of work. I worked very hard. I persevered, and I successfully completed my degree at Villanova, passed the New York and the Pennsylvania bar exams, and then returned to Sullivan County to begin practicing law. I was in the private practice of law, concentrating in family law, when a position opened up in the Sullivan County Family Court as the hearing examiner, which Judge Kane spoke about before. He offered me the job. On Friday, I told him no, and then he said, well, just think about it over the weekend and let me know on Monday. Well, on Monday, I called him back and I said, I'll take the job. Ever since then, we've been good friends and good colleagues. So I was appointed to that position, and I held that for about 7 years until Judge Kane decided that he wanted to move on to the county court. So I ran for election as family court judge, and with a great deal of work and a great deal of help from friends, colleagues and friends, I was elected, and I started my first term in 1993. I went on to be re-elected on 2 other occasions, and currently I'm serving my 30th year on the bench, and final year on the bench, looking forward to retirement on December 31st of this year. So as family court judge, I've dealt with issues involving families, including custody, neglect and abuse, proceedings to terminate parental rights, juvenile delinquency, persons in need of supervision, adoptions. And in 1997, I was also appointed to be a full-time acting Supreme Court judge in Sullivan County, added the entire field of law to my case law, in addition to my role in family court. To say that family court is a difficult court to work in is truly an understatement, because the highly contentious issues that the court handles every single day that we're there. So during my tenure, I have been asked to teach my fellow family court judges during our annual summer seminar and at the Judicial Institute that's in Westchester County. I've also had the great pleasure and honor of being the president of the Family Court Judges Association in the state of New York. For the past 23 years, I have served on the advisory committee for the Attorneys for the Children's Office in the 3rd Judicial Department. Those are the attorneys that represent all the children in family court, as well as in matrimonial actions. And I've also been the chairperson of that committee for the past 6 years, and as of next Friday, I will be stepping down from that position as I slowly move towards retirement. I was also appointed by the Chief Administrative Judge of the State of New York to be a member of the Advisory Committee on Judicial Ethics, which advises judges around the state of their ethical obligations. And several years ago, I was appointed to chair the 3rd Department Subdivision on that committee. And last year, as Judge Kane indicated, I was honored to receive the New York State Bar Association's Howard A. Line Award for Excellence in Juvenile Justice and Child Welfare. I also believe it was very important to contribute to the community, Judge Kane indicated. And for over 45 years, I've been an active firefighter in the Rockville Volunteer Fire Department. I spoke about my past education and my involvement in the legal profession, as well as my work in the community, which were achievements which happened only after a great deal of hard work and determination. As you can tell, over the years, my plans have evolved and changed, and each step required hard work and dedication to move on to the next chapter. You need to realize that life, just like mine, your life, just like mine, is a marathon and not a sprint at the end. As students, you are preparing yourselves for this marathon, and as my marathon run has shown, hard work and determination paid off and gave me opportunities to meet these challenges, adapt to changes, and to find work that is fulfilling. All of this gave me a life that has brought me happiness and has allowed me to raise and support my family here in the county. Well, my marathon run is coming to an end, and as a near retirement, as most members of the old generation can tell you, our legs are getting tired. We're looking for the generations that follow us to continue the marathon into the future. We need young legs like yours to tackle the issues of 200 years of racial and social injustice, mass murders that have tragically become commonplace, climate change, the invasion of Ukraine by Russia just because they want the resources of that country, the exploding prices for fuel for cars and heat for our homes in the winter, the rising cost of food, and more importantly, the skyrocketing cost of college education that places the dreams of college out of reach for many people. We are now relying on your fresh legs to find solutions to the very difficult issues that challenge our world today. While we still will be around to give you guidance and wisdom from our years of experience, it is your generation which will carve out the future, which makes your education so very important to yourselves, your family, and your community. And I wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly inducts the Honorable Mark M. Meadow, alumnus, class of 1971, into the Hall of Distinction. June 3rd, 2022, character is the builder of the nation. Congratulations. He wants to come back with pictures of him. I do probably had some barbecues when we were out together.
Might be
So our next person is now a professional musician. And when you get a gig, you get a gig. And when you gig with the people he gigs with, you go, because that's what you do. So I was going to read his biography, but it's online and it's in the program. So before I introduce his uncle, who's here with us today to read a letter from our inductee, I want to tell you a story. For those of you who don't know my history, I started out my career as an educator a long time ago. As Miss Weiner said to me earlier, what year did you start here? And I said 1984. She was one of my students. So was Seth. But here was the unique thing about Seth. This was my normal conversation with Seth. Seth, why are you down here in the music department? Because I need to practice. Seth, what class are you supposed to be in? Math. Seth, why are you here and not in math class? Because I don't need math. I don't need it. Why? Because I'm going to be a professional musician. Okay, but you're going to be a professional musician, but you need math class. You do need math class. Miss OJ, just let me stay here. Seth, you need to go to class. Okay, I'll go to class. And he'd scurry out the door. And I'd go about my business, doing whatever I needed to do. And I'd come back in, and Seth never went to class. He was back there practicing. And that's why he's out gigging today. And with that said, I'd like to introduce his uncle, Mr. Tom Rush, who's going to introduce and present for him. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know where to put this now.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Rush, Seth's uncle. I'm very proud to be honored and to represent Seth in this induction. He really didn't send me to do anything, to say anything special. He just, musician term, just wing it there. So I'm gonna wing it. Seth's disappointed he couldn't be here. But anyone who's a working musician knows that the phone stops ringing, you're out of work. So you gotta take them when they come. So the reason he's not here, he's currently touring with a rock legend in my eyes, and original frontman for the Eagles for the last 30 years, Don Felder, in Henry's soon-to-be home state, Kannapolis, North Carolina. So that's the reason he couldn't go. Seth's always been an inspiration to everybody he meets. You know what? It's usually silent when we get together or we talk. The words are so few. It's like, hey, how you doing, man? Good. What's happening? But not much. You want to get jamming? Okay. That's about what it comes down to every time we're together. It's very verbal, little bit of verbal going on. So, but Seth did want me to mention that when, all the big names, I encourage you to read his biography. I'm not going to go through it because there's nothing I can do to make it better. But he's got hundreds of big names that he's played with. But he told me, he says, listen, when he arrived in Nashville, he credits one guy, Mike Connolly, and his wife Denise, who just recently passed, God bless his soul, for the first taste of what was to come in a band called Special Delivery. Just a local band. In Seth's words, without that experience, none of what was about to become his lifelong musical journey would have ever happened. And I take a lot from that because everybody gets into music to be famous, a big star, but it's really not about that. It's just about the love of what you're doing. So I think I'm going to qualify for the shortest presentation. Congratulations to all of you. And I wish Seth would have been here in his own words to give his view. But on Seth's behalf, thank you very much.
So Seth, when he gave his apologies for not being able to be here, did say that when he is back in the area, he's going to come in and meet with our music students and spend a little time with them, so we're very grateful for that. So Uncle Tom, Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly inducts Seth Roush, alumnus class of 1996, into the Hall of Distinction, June 3rd, 2022. Character is the builder of the nation. Thank you. So I can't promise what will lie ahead with this next person who's going to do an introduction of the final inductee. People know him in the audience. What I can say is that it'll be a treat and one heck of a roller coaster ride. Please welcome to the podium my dear friend, Mr. Howard Goldstein.
Start with when your reputation supersedes you. Obviously, you know my name is Howard Goldsmith. I'm the little brother of Buddy Goldsmith. He always used to, he was passing, I always got confused a lot, and then people would run up to me and yell, "Hey, Buddy." I just want everybody to know I'm the good-looking one. But I know if Buddy were still here and with us, he would have been honored and humbled to receive this recognition for doing what he loved doing. And on behalf of all my family, we thank you. I only wish my parents could be here to witness this event. As the baby of the family, I had the luxury of benefiting at an early age of learning what not to do to piss mom and dad off. I had two good teachers, my brother Buddy and my sister Ronnie. And boy, did they manage to leave many examples of what not to do. As you can imagine, I suppose it's true in all families, a sibling rivalry between brother and sister, usually centered around who my sister was dating, or she was getting better grades. And I had to learn at a very early age how to lie prone on the floor during one of their many heated arguments. Guaranteed to be followed by my sister running out for the front door, followed by my brother, which in turn was followed by my father threatening to kill the both of them. Best seat in the house is I was the TV remote control. You have to remember back in the days when we didn't have remotes, and I was the guy that went out and changed all the channels, all 6 of them. But it wasn't until I entered the 2nd grade, while attending school in the telephone building, when I first heard teachers talking amongst themselves. It wasn't unusual to have some of the same teachers as my brother and sister. Inevitably, they would always ask, "Are you related to Buddy or Ronnie?" Initially, I thought I had hit the jackpot. I would always be proud to respond yes. But one day, a couple of teachers were in the hallway talking. And I guess to confirm their suspicions, I was asked that same question. Of course I responded, yes. When one of the teachers responded to the other, thinking I wouldn't hear what he said, "I hope he's more like his sister." I knew then I was in trouble. By this time, Buddy had left for the Army, and I had no way to know his true reputation. Sports star or rebel without a cause. With the benefit of time and stories told to me by his classmates, apparently he was both. After he returned from the Army, he and our cousin Wayne, who had also just been discharged from the service, decided to share an apartment in Brooklyn. But as the adage goes, you can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. In the lore of Monticello, drew him back. Monticello was still the mecca for New York City vacationers. Known as the crossroads of the Catskills, it was still a booming vacation destination for people. Around the mid-1960s, he joined an organization called the United States Junior Commerce. It was an offshoot of the JCs. They sponsored a lot of events for the kids in Monticello, even such events such as the Thanksgiving and Christmas parades. It was sometime in 1968 that he got his first exposure with the Special Olympics when Mrs. Kaufman from South Fallsburg asked him to help out with their first event. A short time later, the village of Monticello was looking for a director of recreation, as they had just built the Ted Strobel building. It was there that, with the help of Pete Tweed, that he started the Sullivan and Orange County Gymnastics, which eventually became the Sullivan County Gymnastics. That used to be his daughter, but we don't acknowledge her anymore. How embarrassed I was one day when I answered the phone. On the other end was a soft-spoken woman who says, "Hi, this is Ethel. Is Buddy there?" He and Myrna hadn't arrived for our usual family Sunday dinner yet, and all I could think was Buddy was having an affair with this lady Ethel. Only to find out Ethel was Ethel Kennedy, the wife of Robert Kennedy, who at the time was running for presidency of the United States. Who knew? Turns out she was calling for input about a special Olympics event. From then on, the rest was history. He loved working with kids, teaching them whatever sport he was coaching, the importance of teamwork, how to win gracefully, and more importantly, how to lose gracefully. You can't put a price on the joy he got watching the athletics achieve their individual and team goals, especially when it came to the participants of the Special Olympics. Their joy and excitement of finally being able to compete in sporting events that in the past were excluded for them. From beyond Monticello, Buddy was the director of Sullivan Orange County Special Olympics, serving with the New York State Olympic Games Committee for 30 years. He helped train the athletes in competitive gymnastics and served as their coach in many national and international competitions. Upon learning of his diagnosis of cancer, I went to San Antonio to help Myrna take him for different treatments. Although we fought a violent fight, cancer was getting the better of him. I had to return home as I had just got a call to start a new job. A short time later, he called and asked if we would do him one last favor. The doctors had told him to get his affairs in order. His time on earth was measured in days, and if lucky, maybe weeks. He asked if he could come home and stay at our house. And as he put it, I was born in Monticello, and I want to die in Monticello. A true Monticello-like till the end. I'm going to let Ira Simon, a good friend of his, expound on the rest of his life because I can't, statute of limitations doesn't describe on some of these things. Ira, step up.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the induction committee of the Monticello Central School District 12 distinction. Congratulations to all of today's inductees. As Howie just said, I'm Ira Simon, a friend of Buddy Goldsmith. As Howie said, Buddy loved this place. No matter where one went in this county, Buddy had been there and knew someone to varying degrees of intimacy. He traveled all over the world, first while in the service to the Far East, and later with Myrna to all corners of the globe. No matter what wonders he saw, customs he viewed, he believed Sullivan County in general, and Monticello in particular, to be the finest place on earth. It was here he, along with his siblings Ronnie and Howie, was born and raised. Here he met his wife Myrna, raised his daughter Lori, who's acting out a little bit in the front seat, bred his dogs, painted the concrete, ran the Village of Monticello Recreation Department, and started and directed the Monticello School of Gymnastics. Who undoubtedly his best hire and the smartest that he did was to hire Pete Tweed, who has touched so many children in Monticello. He founded the JCs. founded the JCs, dug his koi pond. He co-founded the Monticello Youth Group with Johnny Duncan, and, as Howie spoke so knowingly of, founded Special Olympics. I want to add, concerning Special Olympics, he didn't only found it in Sullivan County. Buddy Goldsmith was instrumental in developing the organization that today has representation in all 50 states and throughout the world, and provides services for hundreds of thousands of persons. Buddy was an organizer of the first national event at Soldiers Field in Chicago in 1968. He brought statewide events to Sullivan County, and he developed policy and programs that continue to thrive. I want to draw your attention to someone who snuck in quietly to my right. It's Neil Johnson. Buddy met Neil probably soon after 1968. He was a Bronx boy. We were on the state games committee together, and eventually Neil served as the CEO of New York Special Olympics. Incredibly influential to Special Olympics and to our lives. I also want to draw some attention to the shirt that I'm wearing. It says Buddy's Bandits with my name on it. Comes from Special Olympics. Myrna made it for one of our unofficial training camps that we had. We like to call them team building. They might have been kind of hell-raising, but we call them team building. Nonetheless, the bandit term, Buddy, I'll say other things about him, but he had an incredible skill for logistics and procurement. Meaning that if I was running an event, which I did, New York State Winter Games were here for many, many years, and I said, Buddy, I need a gross of bolts so that we can put together the field hockey equipment. And he'd say, all right, Howard, when do you need it? I said, I needed it 15 minutes ago. Boom, the bolts would show up. I never asked where they came from. We're at the Concord, so they knew the Concord. There might have been bolts lying around. We got our bolts. Or when we went to a state games, sometimes, or even bigger than that, they would sometimes have swag that we admire. If I were to say to Buddy, you know, I think Karen might like one of those jackets. Boom! The jacket would show up. This was a man of remarkable skill. Back to Sullivan County. It was here that he ran the water plant in Emerald Green. Here he coached all his kids, played golf, ate breakfast at the diner, kibitzed with his cousins at the paint store, developed his values. It was here that he lived his life. Buddy believed in telling truth as he saw it to power. He was plain-spoken, prone to an occasional malaprop, unapologetic, and pretty confident in his own abilities. But he believed in equal access and equal opportunity. He was an example of open-mindedness. How you looked, what you did for a living, mattered little in Buddy's eyes. Action, not words, was his métier. If something was good or interesting, it was neat. Anything outstanding or amazing was really neat. Buddy thrived on figuring things out. It was the basis for his success in life. As an athlete, he excelled in an event that demanded technique coupled with athleticism. Remarkably, he could high jump a foot above his height. It was events such as pole vault, skiing, gymnastics, and his work in soccer with the goalkeepers, where he was so effective as a coach. Because it was technique, how things worked, that he was, through great effort, able to understand and to make understandable. The ability to learn how things work, the ability to communicate that information, and the willingness to work tirelessly enabled him to set up gymnastic events on a world-class stage, run a water plant, design a gymnastics learn the history of all the places that he traveled to, and make some of the history in this, his hometown. But while he gave his mind and his hands to technique, his heart he gave to the kids in his life. Buddy touched the lives of thousands of young people, so many of whom were from Monticello. As a coach and mentor, he cajoled, teased, implored, and often willed his athletes to success. He inspired young people to volunteer. He developed programs for them. Almost all of the kids he knew were really neat. He loved their openness, their sense of wonder, their drama, their potential, and they loved him. I'd like to close by addressing the student body that's left here. God bless them. It's clear to me that this event isn't meant to only be celebratory of Monticello's past achievements and achievers, but inspirational for Monticello's future achievers, who I hope are not daunted by Judge Meadows' to-do list. Buddy Goldsmith's success in life is attainable for each of you. Don't be quick to judge others. Appreciate everyone's abilities, especially your own. Learn all that you can about the things that you care about, and be a good friend. Thank you.
So we're so excited that Lori could be here today. I know Lori from before she was Lori, she was in Mommy's Valley when Mommy was my fourth grade teacher. And I just want to say hi to Myrna because we do know she is traveling and she's watching. She's watching. Yeah.
She's watching. No, she's not here, but she's watching on the
Oh, she's watching. That's what I'm saying. So I'm looking at the camera. She came? What? But I've been in communication with Myrna since the nomination. And we were hoping that we could get her scheduled around her travels, but we were unable to do that. So Myrna, we're sending you tons of love. And I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for her being such an exceptional teacher. So I thank her for that. So, John, come on this side. Monticello Central School District, Monticello, New York, proudly inducts Warren Buddy Goldsmith, alumnus class of 1959, into the Hall of Distinction, June 3rd, 2022. Character is the builder of the nation. What an awesome group of inductees we have before us. Can you please give them a rounding applause? Their recognition, their ability to be recognized through the fine work that they've done and accomplishments that they have had through our community and our country speak volumes, and we are so proud that they are graduates of Monticello Central School District. At the conclusion of this program, we invite the honorees, their family and friends to join us at the Hall of Distinction lobby for the unveiling of the official plaques. I'd also like to remind everybody that the wall was designed, the wall that all the plaques are on, were designed by the actual technology classes of the school at the time that we started this, which is now coming on 10 years. That Hall of Distinction was their vision, their focus, and we involved students. And people thought we were crazy when we made it all out of wood. They said, oh, it's gonna be etched in, it's gonna be a problem. No one has touched that. It is used as what it is called, which is the wall of distinction, and it has remained so, and we thank those students for their vision then. Mr. Christ, who was the chair at the time, I was the secretary of the group, the vision of that group to make this an annual tradition. There are school districts that do this, that do not have annual ceremonies. We are going, in November will be our 10th year for our 10th class. We normally do this in November, and I want to remind anybody that if you have somebody that you believe should be nominated, you can go to the district website and through the month of June. So we take nominations from April through June. And if you have anybody who you'd like to nominate, please take a look at the qualifications and such, and we'd love to have more applications from you. We thank everybody for being here today, and thank you to the students who did come. Hopefully you were inspired, and you will be able to hear this over again and tell friends of yours, oh, listen to this one's speech or that one's speech. COVID changed things for us a little bit. We normally have a packed house, but those of you who were here, and some came in and out of between classes, some came back, we thank you for doing that, because this is done for exactly as Mr. Simon said. It is done for the purpose of us hopefully inspiring you. That is the mission of our committee. With that said, we hope that you can be inducted into the Hall of Distinction someday soon. And until then, take the message that you heard today, work hard, grow, stay safe, and remember, Monty Pride forever. Students, if you would please just take a moment, remain seated. I'm going to ask Mr. Murphy, are they going back to class? Do we know?
We're actually going to ask, if you're going out into the hallway, we're going to ask our seniors to stay here with the guidance counselors until the bell rings. Can we do that?
Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask all of our outside guests, along with our inductees, to please go to the back so we can unveil.
It's an occupational hazard for me. Here's the Did you unmute it?
Check, just for measure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that's never been said about me. One thing that's never been said about me. One thing that's never been said about me. Might take one more time.
Go ahead.
One thing that has never been said about me is that I don't have a big enough voice to quiet down a room. I'm not singing the national anthem today. I'm not doing any of that stuff. But this is such a distinct honor. As a graduate of Monticello Central School District, knowing the work that went into putting this committee together years ago and making this a reality, there was a lot of conversations, a lot of hard work, a lot of understanding of what did we want this to be and why. And the reflection of the honorees today, as you take a look at those who've been honored before you, you can see you're part of one heck of a group of people, and we're so proud of each of you. That said, the superintendent really stands in the pictures when we're on stage, but it's his opportunity now to speak with you. So it is my pleasure and my honor. If those of you who remember Dr. Kaiser, this is the man, and that tells you credit, right? Dr. Matthew Evans.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone. I'll be brief, and I do want to give fair warning that about 2:15, there'll be dismissal out here, so you may want to judge this accordingly. So to move things along, I just, on behalf of the Monticello Central School District, I want to thank all the inductees and their family and friends who could join us today, and even the inductees who are not able to join us today, for the wonderful example that you set for our community, our district, and most importantly, our students. And on behalf of the district, congratulations. Thank you for all that you do, and we're very proud to unveil these special plaques here today. So thank you, everyone.
So before we do this, we do know that around 2:15-ish, it's gonna get a little hellish out there where you park. So we're recommending, unless you want to be like you're coming out of Bethel Woods from a concert, take time to meet with people, go inside in the auditorium, talk, take pictures, do whatever you want, and we'll let you know when all clears down here for the parent pickups, so that you're not stuck in traffic, okay? And with that said, we will do the honors.
If you guys could just pause and look at me really quick with a smile. Okay, thank you.
No double chin, right?
No double chin. I'm good.
Good? Here we go.
Very nice.
The way this wall is designed, I told you students designed it, that it's intentional. For 1 year, these will remain centered. The students who created the wall and the original members of the committee are listed on the plaques above. The board members in the center plaque and who was in central administration at the time. These remain here for this next year, and then they move out into the other areas. They move by class, and then the following years, inductees get put in. So for 1 year, they're in the place of honor for sure. Thank you. You're welcome to come in, take pictures, and do whatever it is you need to do or would like to do. So Courtney is giving instruction, all of the inductees, if you could please go center, and we'll take a picture of all of you together.
With Dr. Evans and
So if we could have all the honorees. Hi, Laura.
we'll get a fun one.
Okay, so just not.
We have everybody.
Well, believe me, she's, you know, I mean, it's been that letter and everything.
Okay, so Ms. Urso, James,
It
take
is.
2 steps and everybody follow.
Pretty much.
And then I'm just gonna ask everyone to look at me first, and then you guys can stand up there, you have your friends and family take it. I just want everyone to be looking at me. I'm sorry, let me back up. Excuse me, excuse me. No, it's okay.
Pardon me.
She needs a wide ankle.
I do, I'm sorry. Okay. 1, 2, 3. And do you want to do a fun one? Everyone pointing to it?
Oh, I thought that was it.
That is me.
All right, great. And now stay there so that your friends and families can take all the pictures that they would like. Okay. So go ahead, snap away.
Oh, I am. You know what? I tried. You know.
Someone take a picture of me?
No problem.
Think there, Dino. No, not bad. Go be good.
We're still snapping, so hold on. Good, good. Wait. Keep going. Good. Everyone else? Wait. You got it? Okay.
Do you have anything to say to our live viewers before we?
Oh, yeah, before we,
Want me to say?
there's still a couple people watching,
Oh,
so.
there's still people
Yes.
watching.
Yeah.
So we thank you so much for joining us. We thank those who will be watching in future. We again encourage, if you know of anybody who should be an honoree, and should be nominated, it's on our district website, on the Monticello Central School District website. Any issues with regard to finding it or accessing it, just please reach out to us. The more nominations we have, the more we can really select and continue honoring states in the pool for as long as you nominate them. So they're always there. We thank you. Stay safe. Always with Monty Pride. Thank you.